Okay, guys, welcome back to App World AI. We got a good one for you guys today, man. Check it
AI
out.
never sleeps, and this week has been absolutely insane. Your full body waifu is finally here. This Chinese
Oh
food
my
delivery company
God.
just trained a frontier model without any NVIDIA GPUs,
Whoa.
which is a huge deal. Claude Fable
Big
5
deal.
is back. It's now available globally, but it does have some additional nerfing which you need to be aware of. Google released some super efficient image and video models. We have a new AI that can understand sheet music.
Okay.
This AI can edit videos in real time. Meta released an AI that can turn your thoughts into text. So now you can just type by thinking. We have some new ways to speed up image models by over 20 times. This AI can turn a photo into a full physically accurate 3D simulation. We have some really used.
Wait. Let's back up. I can text just by thinking? This is finna do wonders for people that's got problems with speech or that's been in accidents or whatever like that. See that now we talking about helping the world. I like that. Let's continue.
AI systems for robotics, and a lot more. So let's jump right in.
Go.
First up, we have a really interesting AI called Muse VIT. This is basically an AI model for reading sheet music. Now, this might sound very niche at first, but it's actually a really important missing piece. You see, we already have AI models for images, text, speech, and video, but a page of sheet music isn't just image. It also has info about symbols, timing, pitch, staff lines, spacing, and structure. And a normal vision model doesn't really understand all these relationships properly. So this is actually a really hard task for an AI model. But Muse VIT is able to take sheet music like this and understand everything. In fact, if you compare Muse VIT against other vision models, you can see that Muse VIT is definitely way better in terms of recognizing and classifying sheet music. And the way they trained this is very interesting. They trained it on 9.7 million pages of sheet music, covering around 400,000 musical works. And what they did was they actually masked out parts of the original sheet music, so you get something like this. And the AI model during training basically needs to learn how to reconstruct this sheet music from this back into this.
Wow.
And over time, from learning how to fill in the missing blanks, it also understands the structure of sheet music and notation and symbols and how everything works. At the top here, they have released the model to this. So if you click on this link and you scroll down here, it contains all the instructions on how to run this on your
understands
computer.
the musical
Note that
notes.
this vision model is fairly tiny at less than 500 megabytes in size, so you should be able to run this on most consumer devices. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Chinese food delivery company Meituan continues to cook. They just released their latest open source model, LongCat 2.0. And this is a huge deal. What's impressive isn't that they've built a frontier model that performs very close to the leading closed models out there, but it's that they trained this entire model without any NVIDIA GPUs. It's important to know that for training AI models, NVIDIA GPUs are the gold standard. In fact, it's pretty much impossible or undocumented to train a huge model with any other hardware type. But here it says the full training run and large-scale deployment were built entirely on AI ASIC superpods. Now, an ASIC is just a specialized chip, in this case for AI. They didn't reveal the brand or the name of these superpods, but there are rumors that these could be Huawei chips. And it's no surprise. I think it's inevitable that China is going to be less reliant on NVIDIA chips from the US and instead use their own chips developed domestically for AI training. And Huawei could be a major provider of this. What's even more impressive is that here it says their pre-training had no rollbacks or irrecoverable loss spikes, demonstrating that we have capacity to conduct frontier-scale training on alternative hardware platforms. Training huge AI models is actually very unstable. It's not uncommon for the training run to just crash or die due to a loss spike, in which case they would have to roll back to a previous stable version and then keep training again. But here it says that they did not encounter any rollbacks or irreversible loss spikes, which is crazy. This signifies that these new specialized AI chips actually run very smoothly for AI training. Anyway, back to the specs of this model. This is a 1.6 trillion parameter model, and this is a mixture of experts models, so think of it as like a team of AI agents working together to help you solve the problem. And when you use it, only 48 billion of these 1.6 trillion parameters are activated. So this makes it quite efficient. And like most frontier models out there, this model is also designed for coding agents and long context work. In fact, if you look at these benchmarks, it's extremely impressive, especially for a food delivery company. So in terms of these agentic coding and reasoning benchmarks like Terminal Bench or SweBench, it beats Google's current best model, Gemini 3.1 Pro, and it's edging pretty close to the top closed models out there, including GPT 5.5 and the Claude Opus models. Now, this is completely open source, and you can link it with any harness or tool out there, like Claude Code, OpenClaw, OpenCode, Hermes, etc. And you can get it to do a ton of things. For example, here we are linking it to Claude Code and getting it to create a PowerPoint presentation. And as you can see, it's able to complete this very well. Or here's an example where we can get it to analyze data. And here we are getting it to code up an entire Maze web app. Now at the top of the page, they've released everything already. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. It even works for NPUs and not just GPUs.
So many different
Everything is released under the MIT license, which is very permissive. Now, if you go on Hugging Face, note that even the FP8 version of LongCat 2 is over 2 terabytes in size, and that's because this is a huge 1.6 trillion parameter model. So don't expect this to be able to fit on any consumer GPU. You'll need to stack like a ton of enterprise GPUs to run this. However, because this is open weights, I'm sure the community is going to release more quantized versions and unfiltered versions of this in the future, which could potentially fit on consumer devices. For now, if you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also, this week we have Live Edit. As the name implies, this can edit videos in real time, allowing users to make changes to the video as it's playing. So here are some examples for your reference. This just takes any reference video plus a prompt with instructions on how you want to edit the video, and it'll pull this off in real time.
It is not an option as a lawyer today to refuse to use AI.
That's pretty nice.
Here it says it can edit videos at a speed of almost 13 frames per second. And as you can see from these examples, it's very versatile. You can do a ton of things from replacing clothing to changing the weather, removing objects, or changing the style and composition of certain objects. The key here is that it adapts a regular video model into a causal chunk-wise streaming setup, which means it can process frames in small chunks instead of needing the whole video at once. And that's how you can essentially just stream a video into it and get it to edit it in real time. Now, at the top of the page, they have released a code button to this, and if you scroll down a bit here, it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Plus, they also released the training script as well. Note that the total size of everything is only 17 gigabytes, so it's fairly small. This can fit on mid to high-end GPUs. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below.
You know, I got to say this, guys. I got to say this. You know, a lot of people are not paying attention to these open source. You know, everybody's got their mind made up on who they're going to pay first. I'm going to pay Claude. I'm going to pay Higgsfield. I'm going to pay this person. Listen, this is the reason they're doing open source. They giving it to you for free. Go rent you a GPU. Go rent you a server in the cloud. And you can run any of these. It doesn't matter how big. You can run them. You can run them, not only run them, you can use them for free. And that way it stops you from paying money. This is the gold mine, guys. You got to pay attention. See, this is the stuff people don't pay attention to.
VD Hand. This is a program that can reconstruct 3D hand movements from videos. So here are some examples. It can figure out the exact position and shape of a person's hand in 3D space, just by looking at a video of the hand. Now, this is actually really hard to do for existing AI models. And that's because hands move really quickly. They often occlude each other or they're occluded by objects, so you can't really see parts of the hand, and small errors are very noticeable. A lot of hand tracking systems can get the overall shape, but they're not very precise. It's not able to accurately capture the exact positions of the fingers. But here, VidiHand is able to generate this a lot more accurately, even if parts of the hand are not in view. And if you look at all these hand detection benchmarks, then you can see that VidiHand outcompetes other competitors across all these metrics. Here are some qualitative comparisons for your reference between VidiHand and the other competitors. And as you can see, VidiHand is a lot more accurate and coherent. And this tool actually matters a lot, especially for training robots. You see, hands are one of the most important parts of human interaction. And if we can reconstruct this data accurately, then we can create better training data for robotics as well as for augmented or virtual reality.
Somebody's going to pick them
up. At the top of the page, they have released a code button, and here it says the code will be released soon. So stay tuned for that.
Released their code.
If you're
Somebody's going to pick
interested in
them
reading
up.
further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, this new model is pretty crazy. It's called Agents A1.
Okay.
And this is just a medium-sized 35 billion parameter model.
Oh, just
this is a mixture of experts models, so think of it as like a team of specialized AIs working together to help you solve your prompt. And this is built specifically for agentic workflows, so tasks that require multiple steps or using different tools or different platforms, and it can keep working autonomously until the goal is complete. Now, here's the most impressive thing about this. Given its size of only 35 billion parameters, it even beats Kimi-K 2.6 as well as DeepSeek V4 Pro, which is over 1 trillion parameters on various benchmarks. And it's especially strong in some science benchmarks like Humanities Last Exam or Frontier Science, as well as SEAL and Gaia. This even beats GPT 5.5, which is crazy. It's also great at instruction following. The best part about this is, like most releases from Chinese labs, this is open source. So if you click on this GitHub repo, it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. And then if you click on the Hugging Face model, note that this is fairly tiny at only 70 gigabytes in size. So you should be able to fit this on like high-end consumer hardware. And if it doesn't fit, there's also an FP8 version, which is only 37.7 gigabytes. And then here, there's also a Q4 version, which is only 21 gigabytes. So, I mean, just from their benchmarks, this might be the new leading consumer model that you can run offline. Currently, the leader is Quen 35B, but here you can see across the board, it even beats that model. So, very impressive. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, we have an AI system called OmniContact. Basically, this teaches humanoid robots how to do long, complex jobs that involve moving around and touching stuff. For example, things like moving or carrying a box, pushing a cart, and all these movements together smoothly. And this is important because real-world tasks combine movement and manipulation. A robot might need to walk and bend down, grab a box, carry it, push another box, and recover if it loses balance, and then keep going. This is hard because each little skill has to connect smoothly to the next one. In real life, you gotta chain multiple skills and movements together instead of just doing one skill and then stopping. So OmniContact introduces a framework built around something called contact flow. Think of this as like a compact plan on how the robot's body should move and where it should make contact over time. And the results from this model are super strong. So you can see like almost 100% success rate in terms of carrying boxes, a pretty high success rate in terms of pushing suitcases, and this can do like long
40 minutes
multi-step tasks for around 40 minutes. It's not just doing a single motion, but it can combine skills, recover from mistakes, and here's the cool part. You can even integrate this with vision models for semantic tasks, like arranging scattered boxes into a heart shape or into letters. So with this system, it makes humanoid robots feel less like isolated demos and more like systems that can actually handle real-world multi-step tasks.
I just connected Claude to Airtable, and now I have
this content
strategy agent that manages my entire content pipeline. Here's how it works. So Claude is my thought partner. Every week, Claude scans Reddit.
At the top of the page, they have released the code to this. So if you click on this code button and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Plus, they've also released the dataset to this, which is fantastic. So here's the raw data for you to use in case you want to, train your own humanoid model. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. If you're into 3D printing or turning cool ideas into 3D models, check out Hi3D, the sponsor of this video. You don't need to know 3D modeling to start 3D printing anymore. With Hi3D, you can go from just one image into printable 3D model, then split it, add connectors, arrange it, and send it to your slicer. Think of this as an all-in-one 3D model generation platform. Hi3D is trying to solve the full workflow from idea to printable object. You can start with a simple prompt, generate an image, turn that image into a 3D model, then use Hi3D's smart splitting feature to break the model into printable parts. This is the part that matters for makers. Instead of getting one solid object that's hard to print or customize, you can turn the model into separate printable parts and assemble them later. It can automatically arrange parts on the print bed, suggest optimal orientation, and avoid connector and joint positions that could affect assembly. There are two print modes, surface priority and less support, depending on your printing needs. That's the big difference here. This isn't just AI image to 3D. It's more like image to 3D model to print-ready asset. For example, I tested it with a few different cases, and what impressed me the most is how much of the pipeline is already built into the platform. You're not just getting a preview, you're getting a clean mesh, usable geometry, and even 1536 Pro resolution for more defined results. Hi3D also gives you different generation modes depending on what you need. If you want quick concepts or prototypes, the faster mode can generate in around 2 to 3 minutes. If you care about texture quality, you can use the version that focuses on better textures. If you want more stable, cleaner geometry, there are options for that too. Another big advantage is the free trial. Hi3D lets users generate and download models during the free trial, while other platforms make you spend extra credits just to download what you created. What makes Hi3D feel all-in-one is that the workflow doesn't stop at generation. It keeps going through splitting, connectors, print layout, slicer, export, and printing. They're also working on multicolor printing, which should make it easier to prepare split models with different colors or materials. Plus, maker templates for faster starting points. You can use this for miniatures, figures, game assets, character prototypes, or early product concepts. And right now, it's Hi3D's anniversary, the biggest sale they've ever run. You're looking at up to 80% off, plus buy one get one free on credit packs. Try Hi3D today using the link in the description or pinned comment. Also this week, Claude Fable 5 is back. Now, if you aren't up to date with what happened over the past few weeks, here's a quick refresher. Anthropic initially released Fable 5 a few weeks ago, and according to various benchmarks, this is indeed the most powerful model you could use. They also said it's based off of Mythos, which they claim is too dangerous to release. Well, because of this, the US government was quick to act. They were quick to ban Fable a few days after its release, and since then, nobody was able to access it. Well, fast forward this week, after implementing some new safety classifiers and coordinating with the government, the ban has been lifted. They've now re-released Fable 5. Now, I already did a full review video on Fable 5, including all the impressive things it can and cannot do, plus its specs and pricing. So see this video for more details. I'll link to it in the description below. I'm not going to repeat too much from that video, but here are some details from this new version. First of all, note that you can only use this via a subscription plan until July 7th.
Crazy.
After this date, you will only be able to use Fable via usage credits. Another detail that's kind of hidden in the fine print is you can only use Fable 5 for up to 50% of your weekly usage limits. Because of this, many users reported that they could barely get anything done with Fable even on the highest max plan after just 1 or 2 prompts. They already used up the 50% weekly usage limit for Fable, so it's very limited. This kind of feels like a slap in the face. Not only can you use it for just a few more days on the subscription, but you can only use it for up to 50% of your weekly usage limits. Now, the previous version of Fable was already quite nerfed in terms of answering cybersecurity and biology-related questions. In fact, as I showed you in the previous video, it'll just outright refuse you and revert back to a dumber Opus model. Well, this new version of Fable 5 is even more castrated. So here's another super important detail that's kind of hidden in the fine print. Here it says that some routine tasks like coding and debugging will fall back to Opus 4.8. Like, seriously? I mean, the main use case of Fable 5 is for agentic coding and debugging. Like, Fable 5 is particularly performant in these tasks, and I think that's what people are going to use it for. If it's going to reject these coding tasks and revert back to a dumber model, then what a huge castration. And I think the main reason for this is because in order to re-release Fable, Anthropic had to train an improved safety classifier that allegedly blocks specific jailbreak attempts in over 99% of cases, though this might result in more false positives. And because of this, even fairly normal or benign requests like coding tasks might be flagged and rejected, which is quite disappointing.
I don't know what y'all think.
If you're wondering how exactly this new Fable differs from the old one in terms of performance, you do get some mixed results. But here are some metrics for your reference. So here are some benchmarks by BridgeMind. You can see that this new Fable 5 does hallucinate a bit less, but for debugging, you can see it is severely nerfed. Its performance is way lower than Fable 5. Same with refactoring. This is like half as performant as the previous Fable 5. Now, that's just one reference point, but if you look at another leaderboard called Arena, here are some metrics that compare the new Fable 5, which is in orange, with the old one. And as you can see, for most of these benchmarks, it performs roughly the same, like the confidence intervals overlap, so these are not significant differences. In terms of front-end coding, it does perform a bit worse. In terms of text overall, it does perform a bit worse, same with coding, but it does do a bit better in terms of document analysis as well as creative writing. But again, these differences aren't really statistically significant. Anyway, that sums up the re-release of Claude Fable, but this version seems to be even more nerfed than the previous version. This is one of the most powerful models out there, if you can actually use it, if it doesn't reject your request, but it's also by far the most expensive. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. If you had a chance to play around with this new Fable, I'm curious to hear your experience so far. Also this week, Anthropic releases Claude Sonnet 5. If you're not familiar with the naming convention of Claude models, Sonnet is the smaller variant, whereas Opus is a larger, more performant variant. So Sonnet 5 in this case is not expected to be better in terms of performance. In fact, if you look at this table, for some benchmarks, Opus 4.8 actually does better, even though it's an older generation.
I've been using Sonnet 5, man, to build me games.
Then this is not actually cheaper than Opus 4.8, especially if you look at like the extra high to max thinking levels. In fact, if you look at this intelligence index by artificial analysis, you can see that Sonnet 5 is actually behind GPT 5.5 extra high, as well as behind Opus 4.8. And it's only slightly better than the open source GLM 5.2.
Slightly.
In terms of speed, it's also way slower than GLM 5.2. The crazy thing is, this new Sonnet 5 is incredibly expensive. It costs more than double the price of GPT 5.5, even though it's dumber than GPT. So, I mean, there's really no reason to use this over GPT 5.5 or even the open source GLM. In fact, if you look at this chart comparing intelligence versus cost, Sonnet 5 is over here, it's more expensive, and it's less intelligent than GPT 5.5, which is over here. Isn't that crazy?
So more expensive.
It's also more expensive and less intelligent than Opus 4.8. So, I mean, there's absolutely no reason to use this over existing models. It's not cost-effective or performant at all.
But see, here's the crazy thing. Everybody is not using Codex, and everybody's not using Claude. It's like either using this or using that. So which one are you going to use?
Existing options. But if you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, this AI is pretty cool. It's called Physiformer, and this predicts how 3D objects move and bend in the real world. For example, dropping a ball or squishing a jelly or knocking over objects. You see, we already have a ton of AI 3D model generators, but usually they just generate models that are rigid. If you put them in a simulation or get them to interact with other objects, they don't really react realistically. Well, this AI understands actual 3D objects and forces. So this takes a 3D object shape as input, such as a starting mesh of an object, along with the starting position and the speed of the object and the material type. For example, whether it's rigid, like metal, or elastic, like rubber. And from that, it can make physically realistic animations of these objects moving over time. For example, here's what it predicts if these objects were rigid and dropped to the ground like this. And here's what would happen if instead you change the objects to elastic and then you drop them on the ground. You can see that it's able to change its prediction based on the position, the material, and the starting position of each object. Now, this is trained on over 100,000 simulated trajectories, and it beats older methods in terms of...
Now, check this out, guys.
I'm making an AI video.
Accuracy, in terms of accuracy.
You take that same... Check this out, guys. You take that same... This same model right here, and you connect it to 3D models, because like you said, when you make a 3D model, it's stiff. It's not gonna do nothing because you got to rig it up, right? It takes a lot to rig it up. It's a lot to rig a 3D model up. So if you can take this and infuse it inside the 3D models with all the preset animations, as soon as you download that model, it's able to run, walk, punch, climb. It could have 1,000 animations. This will be life-changing for every developer in the world.
Following real physics laws as these objects move and interact with each other. It even works on shapes it has never seen before, and it can handle many objects at once. If you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released the code to this. So if you click on this button and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to run this locally on your computer. Plus here it says the dataset will also be released soon. So it looks like this will be fully open source. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, NVIDIA releases a pretty interesting system called Aspire. If you've been using AI agents like Codex or Claude Code, you should know that you can create custom skills which the agent can reuse in the future. For example, if you want it to carry out a specific workflow. Well, what happens if we applied these skills to robotics? Well, that's exactly what Aspire does. So this is a self-improving system for robotics. It lets robots learn from their own failed attempts and then turn those lessons into reusable skills.
That's gonna be big.
Robot learning can be painfully repetitive. A robot tries something, fails, and unless the system is designed well, that failure does not automatically become useful knowledge for the future. But Aspire changes that loop. It writes robot control programs as code, runs them, watches what happens, and if something goes wrong, it will repair the code and validate the corrected behavior, then save it into a skill library so that it remembers not to commit this mistake again the next time. Now, this system has three major pieces. It has a closed-loop execution engine, a growing skill library, and an evolutionary search procedure that helps it explore better and better code to use. And this is essentially a self-improving system. It's not just training one policy for one task, but building a system that can keep discovering, fixing, and reusing skills over time. Now, at the top here, it does say the code is coming soon, so hopefully they will open source this. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, we have some new models from Google. While the other frontier labs are pumping out more powerful models, Google seems to be working on efficiency. So this week, they launched two new lightweight models, Nano Banana 2 Lite and Gemini Omni Flash. Let's go over Nano Banana 2 Lite. They say that this is Google's fastest and most cost-efficient image model. It's designed for high-throughput workflows. So as you can see from this demo, you can generate way more images with Nano Banana 2 Lite compared to Nano Banana 2. In fact, this can pump out an image in just 4 seconds, and it only costs a bit over 3 cents for each 1K image. Now, from these benchmarks, you can see that while the quality is a bit lower than the full Nano Banana 2 model in terms of both image generation and image editing, it is way faster and way cheaper, like almost half the price. So if speed and cost are your priority,
if you got like an upscaler or something like that,
image model to use from
free
Google.
upscaler you
and
can
then there's
use,
Gemini
open source.
Omni Flash, which is for videos. This is a super flexible video generator and editor, so you can plug in any references, including existing videos, and just edit that video with a prompt using natural language. You can do a ton of stuff from adding or editing or replacing objects, as well as changing the style of something or adding VFX. I mean, it can do pretty much any edit you describe with natural language. Now, the Omni Flash model is, again, a bit lower in quality than the full Omni model, but at least from their self-reported benchmarks, apparently Gemini Omni Flash even performs better compared with other competitors like Alibaba's Happy Horse or Kling or Seedance. Now, I think these metrics are quite misleading. From my initial testing, Seedance is definitely way better than Kling or Happy Horse, so I'm not sure how on earth Seedance could score so low according to Google's benchmarks. I think this is highly flawed. Something is really fishy about this. Now, the really nice thing about these Google models is you can try them for free on various platforms. For example, you can go to Google Flow, which I'll link to in the description below. It looks like this, and here's where you can generate multiple images using the latest Nano Banana 2 Lite. Or you can also generate videos for free using the latest Omni Flash. And the limits are pretty generous. So for images, you can generate...
I'm going to tell you right now, guys, if you guys haven't went to Google AI.studio, like, go try it out. It's amazing. Amazing. I have made over 100 apps, literally over 100 apps on Google. And you literally can download that code and take it with you. So if Google is not performing to your top, to like how you want it to perform for you, like you're like, oh, wait, and do this and do that, you can have it made for free. And then you can go drop it in Codex or Claude or GLM or any other large language model and continue, expertise somewhere else. But yeah, if you want to get started with Google, it's perfect.
Several dozen images a day, and then for videos, you can make like 2 to 3 videos a day. And these limits do reset daily. So if you're looking for a free way to create content, this is a great platform to use. So I'll link to Google Flow as well as this main announcement page in the description below. In humanoid robot news, your realistic waifu.
This is what I've been waiting on right here.
And, oh my. I really like the proportions of this one. You know, UBTech unveiled a new line of ultra-realistic humanoid companion robots, and some of these are even full body.
Wow.
This U1 series of robots includes male and female characters, and as you can see from all of these different variations, they look extremely lifelike. You can even see visible pores, blood vessels, and fingerprints. That's the amount of insane detail this robot has. The skin also feels very realistic, as you can see from some of these demos. So, you know, they do seem fairly pleasant to touch. It's also equipped with what they call emotional AI. So these robots are designed for companionship and emotional support. UBTech says the system can recognize over 20 human emotions with over 90% accuracy. Now, there are actually two types of robots. There's a version with just the head and the torso, and this goes for around like 18,000 USD. Pretty affordable. And then a full-body premium robot would go for 990,000 yuan, which is around 150,000 USD. Still more affordable than a real girlfriend, if you ask me. The crazy thing is, this has already received over 13,000 pre-orders, which is even more than what the Unitree G1 robot got. They plan to complete deliveries within this year. So if you can't get a girl or guy in real life, or if you're in a toxic relationship, you might as well dump your partner and get one of these. They're always there for emotional support. They never argue back. They're pretty hot, and you can do whatever you want with them. But all jokes aside, I think this will have some very interesting implications for society. We'll definitely see more and more of these companion robots rolled out in the near future. And this is just the first iteration. They're going to get even more realistic and even more...
Wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. Tell me this don't look so real. If they can do this right now in 2026, imagine when it's 2028 or the end of 2029, how real the robot's going to be. They're going to look even realer because remember, most women, 90% of women wear wigs, right? They wear fake hair. They want their real, they still wearing real hair, but they putting on wigs. So if they could put that same real hair on a robot, same skin and lips and everything that feels like a real person, once the AI gets that legendary, once we hit that fucking peak, that 1,000,000% where the robot is so smart it can do anything, emotional intelligence, people are gonna have girlfriends, man. It's gonna be a lot of people that's gonna be lonely, man, because people buy them a robot girlfriend. 150,000, 2 years from now, they'll probably go down to probably about 30,000 a robot or something like that. The people be able to afford them. Yeah, this is gonna be big, guys. This is dope. I like this.
And this might even be a common and widespread thing in the future. How would this affect human-to-human relationships, or even human-to-robot relationships? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Also this week, Comfy UI releases Comfy MCP, and this is a big deal. If you haven't heard of Comfy UI, this is basically the most popular platform for running open source image, video, audio, and other generative AI models locally on your computer. However, this interface is quite complicated and annoying for a lot of people. You need to work with all of these nodes and noodles. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just get an AI agent to deal with this mess? Well, that's exactly what Comfy MCP is for. It's basically
a bridge
Unreal
between AI
agents and Comfy
MCP'd everything.
Just you.
They just did what Unreal Engine just did.
On base 44.
They just built you a bridge to success.
This mess. So instead of manually building nodes, searching for models, downloading things,
you have
and
your
figuring
AI
out workflows, you can just ask an agent in natural language to build, edit, and run workflows autonomously. You just need to prompt it in natural language, just like you would in a chatbot, and it's able to search models, nodes, and templates, and run entire workflows. The really useful part is that Comfy says they auto-update best practice workflows, so your agent always knows what is up to date. It doesn't get stuck with any outdated stuff. For creators, this could remove a ton of friction, and for power users, this can make you way more productive. Instead of manually running things yourself, you can just prompt an agent to do multiple steps and workflows autonomously while you step away from the computer. Now, currently this is in public beta and it's free to try out. At the bottom here, if you click on this link, you'll see documentation on how to get started for whatever agentic platform you're using. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below.
Just get
also
your agent.
This week, Meta releases a really interesting project. It's called Brain to QWERTY, and here's the premise behind it. If you ever get tired of typing with your hands, wouldn't it be cool if you can just think and somehow your thoughts could be turned into text? Wouldn't it be even better if we didn't have to do any surgery or insert anything into our brains for this to work? Well, that's exactly what this Brain to QWERTY project is about. It turns brain signals into typed text without surgery, so you could potentially type just by thinking. So this takes in brain activity recorded by MEG, and this model is trained to basically decode these brainwaves into actual sentences. Now this is version 2, and they trained it on like over 10 times more data compared to version 1. Its performance and accuracy has improved by a lot. You can see, in terms of character accuracy, it's like 69% correct. In terms of word accuracy, like how accurate it is at predicting what words you're thinking, it has a 78% accuracy. It's not like extremely high, but still very impressive considering that it's just looking at your brainwave data and trying to figure out what words you're thinking. The awesome thing is the code for this is out already. Wow. So if you click on this button at the bottom, and then you click on version 2, here it contains all the instructions on how to install this and run it yourself. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below.
Guys.
Also this...
Okay, guys. Hey, we got enough information today, man. Thank you for stopping by World Apps, man. We the best at showing you guys everything. We building games. We making games, tutorials. We showing you new AI from other people. This channel is mainly to give people information that never really used AI or never thought of something they can do, or I think it's something that is gonna help people, man. But hey, tell me guys what you think of this new stuff that's coming out every week, man. Drop some comments down below, man. Tell me what y'all thinking, man. Don't forget, if you fucking with my channel, make sure you like, subscribe. It's your boy Maine, and I'm out, man. Hey, thanks y'all. Thank you for stopping by.